Contemplate the workings of the inner being. Your eyes are wide open, but are you really seeing?
All right. Welcome, Keith and Michelle Norris.
Hey!
So we've got you today. Not only are we streaming the video, we are also putting the audio on our podcast, Mentor in the Mirror, which you've been on before, but a few things have changed. So let's talk about that. My name is Cole.
My name is Ta.
We're Taco, which is
Taco.
backwards and perfect. You guys, let's jump into it. What can people do right now in all of this craziness, stats aside, data aside, isolation, all this jazz? What can people do right now?
I think first and foremost is control what you can control. And the only thing that you can control is what's going on in your own head. And that's pretty much it. Like, you need to control that. And then all of the things that actually are within the ability for you to do those and relax, because getting in a place of panic or fear or any of that stuff is going to lower immunity right off the bat. So you end up making yourself more susceptible to catching this thing. And the other thing is if you're a fairly healthy human, I would not be as concerned about getting this as someone that's immunocompromised or has underlying health issues. My understanding from everything we're reading, everything we're hearing, and I have access to all the experts in the world, and what we're hearing is that it's really actually a lot less than a flu. So if you're really healthy, don't panic. You're probably going to be perfectly fine, and we're probably going to get it. And my hope is we hurry up and get it, and we get it over with, and we have the immunity afterwards. Of course, those are the things but control what you can control, and that's what's going on in between. Year 2 years.
My biggest, and of course, I'm not a doctor. I don't even play one on TV. But I know what it feels like in my body when I'm relaxed and everything's rocking and rolling. And I know what it feels like to be freaking central nervous system on 100, tack in the red, all of that kind of stuff. That is going to just waste the immune system. So, yeah, from the layman's perspective, take a breath, chill out, take some time off, right? We've got this whole semi-imposed quarantine thing going on. Be a good citizen, play the game, quarantine, hashtag flatten the curve, whatever, cool, I get it. Let's do that and take some time to chill. Use it as what I would like to do is for everybody to use this as a time for self-reflection, number one, and number two, what can we do as individuals to make ourselves harder to kill next time around, right? I think that's a big thing. What can you do to bolster your health day to day so you gain the compound interest of doing those good habits over the daily? So the next time this comes around, and there will be a next time, talk and speak to this. I mean, we evolved hand in hand with viruses. It's a constant chess game with these entities. There's going to be another one. So would you rather be prepared the next time around, or would you rather be a vulnerable victim next time around?
Yeah, this is the thing too, is I think that this is also, when you think about it, collectively, the entire universe, all of the planet, almost all of the planet is in this quarantine space. You got to take that as a giant message that it's all of us needed to calm down and stop and take time, relax. And actually, this is a great time, like Keith said, to really reflect, but also really, this is an opportunity for us to kind of rejuice. Like, you get a chance to kind of chill out, rejuice, get your creative juices flowing and everything. I think this is probably going to be one of the best gifts. Obviously, not for anybody that loses anybody. That's not what I'm saying at all, because that's not. But this could end up being ultimately one of the best gifts for humanity, because we all take stock in our life. We all start making the changes we need to make. We all start creating really great things that we all now know that we need, because if we have something like this come along again, we're going to be ready. We're going to be prepared, because like he said, it's going to happen just a matter of time, and all of that I think we're going to see some space. So far, what I'm seeing and just all the stuff that, I'm talking to lots of people and having these great conversations around what can we do? What can we do next? And everybody's seeing opportunity without being opportunistic.
Yeah. And I love what you just said. It's going to happen again. This is actually, the world is getting to be a smaller place. The more connected we get, the way that we can travel to more places, the spread of the internet in countries that never even had telephones or power for that matter, are now catching up into this current realm. So, or like this current technology. So it's escalating things in a lot of countries, which means the more we travel to some of these places more frequently, everything's spreading, right? Lyme didn't used to be down in the South. Now Lyme is across the whole United States. And so it's, what are we going to do about it? What are we going to do to not only fortify the individual organism, for the collective organism, but what are the things that come into play if something like this happens?
I agree with all of the above. And, how we view life, death, deficit, how we view viruses, the good or bad thing, the when people die, it is a loss thing. How we, there's a continuation of humanity. In order for humanity to continue, we are all going to have to die in these bodies so that we can fortify the next generations of people. So the ideas that we have of loss and deficit are part of why we grapple onto things. And the way I see things and the way I look at things is viruses have for ages been regulating everything on this planet. And when we take a step back and we stop looking at viruses as this demon, what is the purpose of the virus and why is it doing what it's doing? Viruses have reset economies. They have reset structures of businesses. And look at what they're doing now. And when we look at how we're consuming plastic and how we're putting waste out and all of this stuff, everything has come to this screeching halt. So our oceans are having a chance to rejuvenate themselves. Our animals are having a chance. Our trees and bushes and the plant life are having a chance to reset. And when we look at this stuff, you are right, Michelle. I agree with you 100%. This is a gift, but we've got to be able to consider all of it, not just the death aspect of it, not just the illness of human beings. This whole planet is an ecosystem. And when we look at how that works, it changes the dynamic of everything. And being a nurse for all the time that I watched a lot of people die, and I saw a lot of people off into the next realm of whatever. And it's really an important place for us to really start to reevaluate and not look at death as a loss. It's a continuation, it's a transformation, as everything does transform all the time. Yeah.
And Todd, I hope that you're able to share that piece that you wrote.
Oh yeah,
because I think it's fantastic. And I mean, it totally, I agree with looking at viruses as these awe-inspiring. They're not even living. They're like mechanical, or I don't even know how to classify them, but they're amazing in their ability to morph and change. And all they are trying to do is replicate just like we are. Right. They're trying.
And as we always talk, Keith, these are constructs. They are constructs, and they get inside the human organism and get it to function a certain way, just like shame does, just like guilt does, just like religions do, just like governments, identity. Mm-hmm. All of these things are constructs. And when you look at the foundation of what we are, constructs, we are a physical construct with other physical constructs living in and on us and with us. So when you look at how viruses work, they work just like nationality. They work just like religion, right? If you're a Christian, the Christian construct is in you, right? And it actually gets you to operate the way through devices, shame and guilt and loyalty and all these other constructs. So when you look at viruses in a very similar vein, they get the human physiology to work in a very specific way. They get down into the gene, into the nucleus of the cells, and they get them to replicate particular material to do the same thing. And they usually sit in the same place in a person's body. Each virus affects a specific type of cell. It affects specific types of organisms. Some viruses only work with bacteria. Some only work with plants. Some only work with birds. Some only work with fungus. It all depends on the virus. And there are so many of them. To sit here and put viruses in this place of evil, it doesn't work, because they are helping to regulate the flow of things. And when we can step back and see that and decriminalize things and really start to see how this works, the environment for a virus to be able to replicate has to be ideal. And if you're in an energetic space or a chemical space that provides an environment for viruses to proliferate, they will. And most of the people who are healthy, their environment does not fortify the structure of viruses to either get inside the cell or to get in the cell and proliferate and cause the DNA to replicate itself.
And I think if you start to appreciate viruses in that manner, what does that do to the person? It brings down the central nervous system. It calms you a little bit. You begin to appreciate this entity that once before you were scared to death of, or you were trying to get away from, or I'm gonna wear a bubble suit so I don't get it on me. And all of this, it just kind of lowers the frantic energy around all of
Yeah.
this. So,
And when you're not in that frantic place, your immune system comes online and it can manage these things. But when you have that frantic energy and you got cytokines running through you and all of this stuff going on and inflammation happening, your body's doing a lot of stuff. And for the introduction of a new thing that is altering your physiology, for your body to have to develop antibodies, that takes time. It's a lot on the system. Yeah.
I think that's what I've been watching the most with people. Just the consumption of the data, even right now, for a lot of like us in the wellness space, right? We're taking it in because we have audiences that are depending on actual information that has been sorted through. But the problem is, and what we need to be very conscious of in this time, is even if consciously we do not believe it to be a threat, subconsciously consuming things that are fear-based are still creating a physiological guard. You know, just like if we were watching fires all the time, the second you smelled a fire, you would question, is there danger? So it's realizing that our brain is so complex and our physiology is designed to keep us alive, that even as we consume with our eyes, with our ears, and what we're reading, even if we don't consciously believe it, it still is heightening our stress, you know, because that the body's like, oh, okay, I need to be on guard. There's all this danger, which is why a lot of times we're talking about vicarious trauma. People are reading about something that's not even within maybe their household or maybe even their community, but their body's reacting as if it is reading what's going on in Italy, right? Because that is what vicarious trauma is all about, is then the imagination. What if that happened to my parent? What if that happened to my child with asthma, right? And so they're creating the reality that the physiological manifestation will show.
Yeah, I mean, you know, vicarious trauma is a real thing. You know, as a nurse working in the hospital, we had to learn to actually turn off our trauma cycles because we would see people get hurt. We would see people get burned. We would see people get stabbed. We would see people be injured. We'd see all of this stuff. And I can tell you, my nervous system would fire up. Man, I saw somebody come in with half their head hanging off, and my whole body started to freeze, and we would have to snap out of it. And that means shutting down your nervous system and heightening yourself so that you can actually focus. And it's vicarious trauma is a real thing. Your body still perceives when you see someone else get hurt. That's why when you see an accident, you do this, because your body perceives it. We are all one. When you look at how tribes work, when you look at how packs of animals work, when one gets hurt, they all get hurt. And this is one of the things that I believe we really got to look into as human beings and taking care of each other, is understanding how this vicarious process works. When one person gets sick, we are all sick. And it's important for us to uplift every link in the chain in order for the integrity of the chain to be maintained.
Yeah.
It's kind of the flip side of the mirror neuron thing, right? Where mirror neurons are great whenever you can connect with somebody in a positive way. But the flip side of that is attaching to, like what you said, Todd, about these traumas, and your body is interpreting them, I guess, as your own trauma. Yeah, that's
it's funny because when you were saying that, I know that, like, anytime that I watch, like, when you see those silly videos where people get hurt in the videos, or they fall, or they whatever, I immediately, my whole stomach, and I will actually feel my stomach kind of flip, like almost like you're being dropped. that stomach dropping out. It's the weirdest thing. And I've always thought, why in the world is that? And that's it. That's really super interesting, fascinating stuff.
Well, and that's why right now, especially with those of us that are really stepping in the forefront of this leadership, to be extra conscious, extra conscientious on any manifestations in the body, hypervigilance, agitation, anxiety, chest tightness. We talk a lot about the transformation trap, right? And being stuck in a Puma energy, which is that seek, hunt, dominate, conquer. There's a lot of power to it, but if we aren't careful, we will lead to, it's like the country will get out of the health crisis and all the entrepreneur thought leaders will crash after, because they were pushing to fortify the system to get us through just to cross the finish line and collapse. So it's really, really important right now that we are attuned to, am I feeling agitated because of this sense of urgency for humanity? And where is that toggle and that presence and the ability to find relaxed states within this? And where is your sleep at? How is your sleep? This is the time to be tracking your sleep scores, keeping track of some of that data. Otherwise, if we're looking to do things differently than we have in the past, we don't want to collapse after we cross the finish line.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure.
Yeah.
Something else just popped into my head when we were talking about this information overload. And I can't remember the guy who studied this, but he studied the health of cultures relative to the information that they had available to them. And the thesis was that as we evolved as a species, the only information that we took in fucking mattered.
Yep.
Right? If it's raining, that mattered. If it's cold, that mattered. If there's a tiger over there, that mattered. That was the only information that we took in. It mattered. And now we're just awash in all of this information, and we can do nothing about 99.9% of it.
Right.
Yep.
And yet we're just inundated with it, and your central nervous system is just constantly and it's information that you can't do anything about. Nothing.
Right.
Nope. And
so
yeah. No, continue.
So you're just sitting there trying to wrestle with all that. You can't do anything about it. You can get out of the rain, cool, but you can't do anything about what's on Fox News right now, Zilch, or any of the other networks that you choose to buy into.
Yeah, man. People are not being present from, to your point. All of that stuff on the news and what's going to happen and am I going to die and am I going to get sick? This is all future focused stuff, and it pulls the body out of the present moment. And this causes anxiety. Anxiety is a future driven syndrome. It's a future driven symptom. Yeah. And it's about focusing on the future or what could possibly happen. So you're looking at all the scenarios of what could possibly happen. There's a million scenarios that could possibly happen. So your body, your physical body, is actually looking for those scenarios to act on it. So it's like, oh shit, this, oh wait, and that causes a whole lot of disruption in the physical body. I'm so glad you brought that up. And this can cause you to freeze, right? When you get flooded with all this stuff, you freeze. And then it's like the body is jittery. This is the height of anxiety, is the future focus. And every time somebody comes to me and they're telling me about, what am I going to do? What are we going to do? What's going to happen to us? Are you safe right now? Well, yeah. But what difference does that make? I'm like, you're alive right now.
Or is this a conspiracy?
Is this a conspiracy?
Like, what difference does it make in this moment currently?
Are you having fun? Do you have enough food? Do you have enough water? Are you, are you feeling connected to the people that are around you? Are you safe? All these things are very important. And once we have all of that in place, we can, nudge into the idea of the future and that stuff. But if you have right now, how come you're not being fully present so that your body can actually relax? You're safe. Most people on this planet are safe. There are 7.5 billion people on this planet. How many people got coronavirus now? 30,000? We're talking 7.5 billion, not million, billion people. Okay, so the idea that this is going to wreck everybody or even touch everybody, I think it's far-fetched. That's just my vantage point. And I've been through SARS, I've been through MERS, I've been through West Nile, I've been through HIV and its peak. I've been through I said West Nile already. I've been through what's the other one?
Did you go through H1N1?
I did. H1N1, that's when I stopped taking.
That was like 2008.
Yeah, that's when I stopped taking the flu virus. I was like, I'm not doing this anymore because my colleagues started having all these weird symptoms. I was like, I'm done. So, you know, I have not contracted any of this stuff. And so it's really, once you start to get a grasp and a hold of what's going on with you now, educate yourself about what viruses are and what bacteria are and what all kinds of infections are and how that affects your body. Is your body the right environment for all that? Then you can be super present in what's going on with you. And I think that brings the stress thresholds down, just like you were talking about, Keith. These things are super important, man.
And that's, I was going to say, that's one of the big things with this whole deal is that you are talking about creating the right environment for it to live. Well, how about creating the right environment for it to not live? So to make it go. So that's the big thing is one of the things that Keith and I are working on is the whole concept of becoming hard to kill, is that you need to do all the things that boost your immunity. And that means that right now, everybody's getting a really nice little wake-up call.
Yep.
You need to take stock of what's happening, because if you are obese, no, and I'm no shame here, just if you are obese, if you've got diabetes, if you have heart disease, if you have high blood pressure, if you have cancer, especially if you've got cancer, you need to be doing the things to get yourself out of those situations, because the majority of those, not always cancer, but the majority of those are all reversible. You can take care of most of those things if you change your lifestyle. And that really comes down to the diseases of modernity will be your kryptonite, because this is where you become susceptible to any of these viruses that come through, and you can actually go down from one of these. So the thing is, you're going to need to eat better. Make sure that you're not eating a lot of refined carbohydrates, no processed foods, no excessive sugar, keeping to natural sugars like fruits and things like that, and eating in season. Those are the things that you do on a normal daily basis. And sleep, big time. Sleep you're going to be your best friend.
So important.
Yeah. And in this currently, when we're talking about the whole purpose of this isolation is to keep people out of the hospital, right? So that the hospital can take care of the people that do need the extra support, respiratory support, whatever. So the thing is if we really care about this shit, if we really care, we must fortify the personal organism now to keep ourselves out of the hospital so that we're not clogging up emergency rooms with conditions that are preventable, and the self really can treat most of it, right? So at the end of the day, we have an opportunity right now to fortify this container. This is not the time to be drinking alcohol and to be having the comfort foods that are spiking insulin and having it crash, because right now 911 is not going to the same calls they used to, right? Because everyone is in this holding period of making sure that our emergency rooms are going to be able to sustain the support that may be needed. So if you're really cared about your loved ones, you fortifying your personal container to not take up a bed in the hospital is as important, because numbers wise, heart disease and heart attacks and all of these preventable conditions are taking up beds in the hospital. So if you want to keep your people alive, you got to keep yourself out of one of those beds.
Yeah. Excellent.
True.
My God. Oh, this woman. So you both said something that really struck a chord with me, and it's making yourself hard to kill. And I'm always about the opposite polarity of things. So I'm always about the opposite polarity of things. And so when I was thinking, what's the opposite of hard to kill? And that's easy to live, right? If you make it easy for yourself to live, it's really hard to get killed, right? And it's like, I'm living, man. I'm having fun,
and
man. It's easy. And I'm in this flow state. But when most of the people that I know, and I put this in that virus manifesto, Keith, it's when people are stressed, that's when they get sick. That's when I used to get sick all the time, when I'm stressed. My life was hard and I was Mr. Curmudgeon and I was so miserable. And it was all of this stuff.
What was that last part?
That's the snot.
And you kind of look like you're
Shadow Cole.
I mean, really, like easy to live. People look at me and they're like, man, you look like you have no cares in the world. I'm like, I don't. You know what I mean? Like, look, how are you? What's going on with you? When my life, as soon as my life starts to get difficult, that's when things start to get wonky. That's when I have aches and pains in my joints and all this stuff. And I turn it back into the other direction. And I really, that hard to kill thing really sparked something off for me. So thank you for that. Easy to live, hard to kill. And those two things together, hard for viruses to kill you if you're living fully. If you are in a full space and your nutrition is fortified and you're breathing and
Having
you're moving
fun.
and you're having fun, chances are you're not going to get sick.
There's a lot of people right now that are like, you need to take this seriously. And I'm like, don't judge me on how I cope with shit. You get to have your anger. I get to have my sarcasm and joy. So this might really trigger some people, but it's hysterical. I called one of my friends who's been HIV positive for we're talking 30 plus years. And I called him and I was like, how are you doing all of this? And he goes, bitch, I have HIV. No, he goes, I have AIDS. And I just started laughing because his sense of humor is like, for what I've overcome, like, I've been living happy and healthy from HIV. Get out of here with your COVID-19. But some of us cope with jokes. Some of us cope with this play. Why? Because that instantly breaks that tension in the body. That releases the endorphins. So all the people that are like, you're not taking this seriously. I'm like, am I not quarantined in my home, Jeeves? I am. So I am following recommendations, but I'm still going to make jokes and laugh about shit.
I'm cracking up. Okay, so this is what was so funny. So last weekend, Clayton came over and we went and did our shopping, right? We went to go do our shopping because I didn't realize that this was like, toilet paper was a real thing. There was an issue with this. So he and I go to Costco, which I go to Costco anyway. It wasn't like I went to go hoard stuff. I went on a normal basis, went and got my normal stuff, I have to hoard coffee for Ken. So anyway, because
he's like, I don't need the TP to get my coffee.
He would not be fit to live with if he had no coffee.
Toilet paper I can do without. Coffee, yeah.
He would take out the virus himself.
I'm saying. So it's so funny. We are running around Costco. We're laughing. We're joking. We're doing all kinds of stuff. And I swear to you, we had so many people give us like these dirty looks. And then there was this one woman that went when we were like, we had been joking around and said something. And I'm like being super nice to people because I know that you could feel it was palpable, the stress, the fear, the panic. And I'm being super nice to people and saying hello and being like, and you would have sworn it's like stabbing them in the eye with COVID-19. Like, here, take the COVID-19, right? They were looking at me, but this one woman said, I can't believe that they're joking around like that. Don't they understand how serious this is? And I thought, honey, if this is the end of the world, this is how I want to go out. I do not want to go like that.
I'll be like this as the comet's coming towards Earth. It's the end of the world as we know. I used to live in fear of everything, which is why I had fibromyalgia and endometriosis and all of these health conditions, because I felt like the world was all attacking me. The truth is, I was attacking myself. And when you realize that most of the suffering you are in is your own ass attacking you or not setting strong boundaries, everything starts to get easier. And so we started asking ourselves, am I making this easy or am I making this hard?
Yeah, I've watched a lot of people in the health space and the self-help space get online and talk about the human body is designed to survive. And so we have to survive. And I'm really into this idea that we are designed to thrive. So let's thrive. When we are in a thrive space, it is not the same as the hypervigilance of survival. And that is the Puma space. When we are thriving, we're coasting like the condor, man. The food's already there. Everybody's chilling. We're cool. We're kind of wavy. But man, we're thriving. And I think that's what we're designed for. And the immune system is designed to keep things away so that we can thrive.
Yes.
Our nervous systems are designed so if there's a threat, we get the threat out of the way so that we can continue to thrive, not just to survive.
Yes.
And that's just my vantage point on it. And the more I lean into that vantage point and the more I talk to people about it, they're like, oh, that makes plenty of sense. And they allow themselves to relax. And that's what I'm talking about. When we can have these conversations with people about thriving, not just surviving and getting by and being serious all the time, that's when things can change. And I think now is the opportunity. We have this ripe opportunity where everybody's at home. Let's really talk to each other about what's going on. Let's use these social media platforms that are reaching millions of of people to really drive this point home about thriving as individuals and then creating a collective society of thriving individuals, not be governed by a society of sick people.
That's the life team formation. You know what I mean? When you look around, we talk about this all the time. If you know you're one paycheck away from having food, get clear now on what you're going to need. Who is within your area, your people, whoever, create that life team. You know, we've got our WhatsApp groups that's like, hey, does everybody have what you need? Food, shelter. No one's talking about money. Why? Because none of us, or most of us, is money the consideration. Why? There's so many people that have none. That isn't even the exchange rate that's going to have the most value right now. You know, credit scores are going to be impacted. Anyone that's been hyper attached to that credit score, y'all, you're going to get a good lesson in letting go of value attached to a number, you know, or the financial numbers. So because it's such a huge systemic issue, something's going to have to change. So can you let go of that right now of like, how am I going to pay my rent? Guess what? There's a few million people that, since 70% of the population or so are one paycheck away, whatever the statistic is. Don't worry about that right now in this moment. And if you're going to run out of food in 5 days, there's groups like IntelliHelp that Ron Lynch started. Go say, what are your specific needs that are not money? You need tampons because next week your period's coming? Get on it now. This is part of that taking care of yourself and getting clear on what you need.
Yeah. And before we wrap up, I wanted to ask you guys, because you two I can't even focus with this woman talking. So it's
I want to throw, so while you come back to that, I wanted to say something about something that Cole said. So we had this come up over last week. Our refrigerator door, the hinge broke, and so I called out the repair people. They came and looked at it, and they basically said, we don't have this hinge. It's going to be $600 to replace this door. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not putting $600 into that refrigerator. I'm just going to go buy a new refrigerator. So I go over the weekend with Clayton, actually, and we go and choose a refrigerator, whatever. And we were kind of laughing about this today. And Keith was like, kind of like, oh, shit, what's going to happen next? Like, whatever. And my whole thing was, yes, I'm getting a new refrigerator. I hated that refrigerator. And I'm just so fucking happy I have shit to put in that refrigerator because there's so many people that don't.
Yes.
And I feel very blessed.
And so this really, really quick, I'll just get in Puma Condor. So when we found out that Paleo FX was going to have to be rescheduled, I immediately went into old habits. Boom. Freaking grind, hustle, all the things, right? It was an automatic response. And that was for a couple of days, just freaking going and going and going. We got into this massive blow up. And then I backed off and I was like, what the hell am I trying to move into? What have I been trying to move into? This is an opportunity for me to embrace that and move into it and get away from that energy. So thank you for bringing that up. I just wanted to put it out there. I don't think any of us are ever there. We're always trying to get there, but I immediately not immediately. It took me 3 days. I'm a little bit slower than the average bear. It took me a couple days to recognize, oh, I'm in that energy again. I am in it.
But the next time it gets shorter every time, right? Like I noticed yesterday or 2 days ago that I started a little bit of a tussle with him. 20 minutes later, I go, can we just erase that whole interaction? Because none of that's even true. It's like, because I've gotten bored, my brain just created a problem. And I literally told him, I don't believe anything that I said. Like literally, because I was saying, I don't want you to do this. And you were doing this. And after I sat there for 10 minutes, I was like, that's not what I think. I was like, I just created something because I'm bored. And if I don't have something to do, heaven forbid. You
create a new dynamic. That's that Puma energy. And so it's awesome that it swung around to this, because what I was going to speak on was you two having this huge health conference that 10,000 people are coming to, and for you to have to push this back into July, right? It's July 7th, 8th, 9th.
14th through
14th through 16th.
There you go. Thanks. I just wanted to make sure the date was out there.
I
So
was just gonna say, you better know those dates. Darn it!
they're on my calendar, man. I've been changing a lot of stuff.
I don't know what anything's happening.
Man.
I'm staying present.
Forgive me, man. Forgive me, babe. So yeah, as two people who are running this massive conference about health, to have to push that back to just speak to the people on that are worried about their lives being shifted and changed. You had an event with 10,000 people coming up in 3 weeks from now, and it for you to have to move that is like lifting a mountain and moving it to another location. And so could you speak to that, what people can do if if they feel like there's an upheaval in their lives? What did you guys do?
Well, honestly, it's all about getting a different perspective, pivoting, adapting. We were made to adapt. I mean, this is the thing. We didn't stay put. We had to move. We were always on the move. And so the thing is that this is something I cannot control. So I controlled the things that I could control, which was choosing new dates and moving as fast as I could. And see, that would have all been out of my control if I wouldn't have if I would have just started sinking back into this whole, oh shit, I don't know what I'm going to do. This is, oh my God, this is a lot. This is, there's 10,000 people. We have exhibitors, we have sponsors, we have attendees. We have, if I had fallen into that spot and had not really just focused and been, okay, I'm the condor. The food is here. It's all going to be here. It's okay. Now, where is it that I need to move to? What is it that I need to pivot? How do I need to switch? And so for me, if I had taken that time to go into all of those conversations and that spun us up, we would not be having Paleo Effects at all,
right?
Which means it would be canceled. And number two, that means we would have owed everybody back their money, and that meant Paleo Effects went away completely.
Yep.
Which means, we would have had to have filed bankruptcy. So the whole thing is that if you just really get agile about how you are perceiving everything, just really change your perspective. Okay, it doesn't look the greatest when you look at it right here, but I know this, when I look at it over here, this makes perfect sense, and it's what I got to do because I don't get to control any of the other stuff. So if things right now, control what you can control, and then just relax and make the best possible choice that you can. That's all you can do.
You knew one thing was for sure, and that's without the place to throw Paleo Effects, there was no Paleo Effects. So it's like, well, we're going to adjust and then see who can flow with it, right? Because without a place to do it, nothing else matters logistically anyway. And with everyone having to move dates, something was going to have to happen. And so I appreciate that y'all just said, all right, well, pivot, and we're going to figure out the details, because it's starting with what's the biggest issue in front of us, not then what. Just handle right now. Everything is one piece at a time, right? We've got a whole elephant to eat. Let's just start with the tail, unless you're vegan.
And then you can.
Here's the beautiful thing.
Then you can lick the toenail.
And here's the beautiful thing that we found out. So we were positioning ourselves for blowback, all this hate and discontent, everything. What we got was 10 to what, it wasn't even 10, it was like 100 to 1. What can we do to help?
Right.
To any kind of complaint. What can we do to help? That was the reach out that we got.
Right.
So,
and what you've been creating with Paleo Effects is a life team unlike anything I've ever seen. These people are so down for y'all. Like, I've never been to a conference or anything collectively like what y'all have put together.
Agreed.
And all of those people that go to Paleo Effects are like your life team. They are supporting you. They are there for you. They're bolstering you. And this for me is one of the biggest examples of the creation of a life team, by really showing up fully, showing up authentically, putting your you-ness out there on the table. If things are wonky, they're wonky. If they're great, they're great. But you have been authentic about it. You have been vulnerable about it. You've been open about it. And people fall into that space to want to support you, because there's a flow out and there's a flow in. And I think it's awesome that you've allowed yourself to be in that space. And I'm really happy for y'all and us.
You've been building your whole lives for this moment, the community you've created, how many years you've been doing Paleo Effects, and it's appreciated and seen. And we're the same as far as support. We're here for y'all. I love you.
fucking love you.
I know. I love you too. No, wait, you don't understand. You don't get it.
Like
No, you don't understand.
You don't understand.
You don't
Want to do some show tunes?
Yeah.
No, this song. Oh no, this isn't it. Anyway, well, thank you so much for coming on the show, for sharing your perspective right now, for riding it the wave. Right now is a new wave of human evolution. We've been saying it for 4 or 5 months, like the new wave is here. That's been all of our languaging. Either you find a way to surf and ride this wave on the top, or you are getting drug under in the undertow, but everyone's coming. So yeah, hang time, man, or drag under time, man, and get the seashell scratches and shit. We love y'all so much. Thank you so much for your time.
And
Thank you.
Tell the people where they can find you real quick before we go.
PaleoFX.com and Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, all on PaleoFX.
Awesome.
We'll put it all in the show notes if you're listening to the podcast. And as always, we love you. Don't forget to rate, review, subscribe, share this with a friend. We love you. Be free.